Hello my dear students, I am really very glad to meet you all through this online class. Today we are going to look into a new topic which is called the forms of government and democracy. So first we'll look into the first part of the lesson which is called the forms of government. There are different forms of government followed in different countries. So there are different names for it. So of which I'm going to introduce you few names, and I'll also briefly tell you what those forms of government actually mean. So the forms of government are Aristocracy, Monarchy, Autocracy, Oligarchy, Theocracy, Democracy and Republic. You all may know what democracy is and what republic is. You might not know the rest of the forms of government. So I'm going to briefly explain you what these governments are. First one is aristocracy. So here the people of the highest class are given special titles. So the ruling is done by the royal families. Next one is monarchy. In this, the system of government or rule by the king or queen. So the example of the country which has aristocracy form of government is UK, Spain. And the countries which has monarchy system of government is Bhutan and Qatar. And the next one is autocracy. By the name auto itself we can understand it is self. So here in this system of government, a country in which a person has a complete power. One person has a complete power. That's what called autocracy. So examples are North Korea and Saudi Arabia. Next one is oligarchy. So oligarchy is nothing but here a small group of people having the control of a country or organization. So example China. And next one is theocracy. So this is a system of government in which priest rules in the name of God. So based on the religious principles. Example Vatican City. The next one is democracy. So democracy is a system in which the government of a country is elected by the people. Best example, as we all know, that India is also a best example for this kind of government. Also USA comes under it. And then the last one is republic. So republic is a system in which a country has an elected government and an elected leader who is none other than president. So Australia and India as well comes under this form of government. Alright, so we just came to know the different forms of government and what they actually mean. So now we'll look into the democracy. What is democracy, children? We all know the famous quote given by Abraham Lincoln of the people, for the people, by the people. What does it actually mean? So democracy is nothing but where the people in the country by themselves they elect their representatives. So it is nothing but it is the government which is in the hands of people, where people elect their representatives by two ways. directly and indirectly, either direct way or indirect way, or which is also called as representative way. So now we will look into the definition of democracy. So according to Mahatma Gandhi, true democracy cannot be worked by 20 men sitting at the center, whereas it has to be worked from below by the people of every village. So it is in the hands of people, said by Gandhiji, where it cannot be done by just sitting and having conferences. It can be only done by working from below by each and every member of the village. So now, what did Abraham Lincoln said about this democracy? So democracy is the government of the people, for the people and by the people.
Hi friend, can you please tell me the features of democracy? Yes. Elected representatives of people and final decision making power to the representatives. Second one is the free and fair elections. Oh, I see. Elections means by voting? Yes. People who have attained the age of 18 will vote for their representatives. And the last one is the fundamental rights and protection of individual freedom. Thank you, my friend. I can understand now.
Now, how did this democracy begin? So democracy began 2500 years ago in some of the city-states of ancient Greece. It is important to know that democratic institutions existed in India as early as Vedic period. Chanakya's Arthashastras tells us that in ancient India, an astronomer's village community was the basic unit of the local government. Even during the later Chola period in ancient Tamil Nadu, the Kudavolai system was in practice. So that was a very notable and unique feature of the village administration of the Cholas. So where the ruler was elected by the people, where people used to write the names of their representative in the palm leaf and they put it in the pot and shuffle it. So when they take one out of it, the name which is written in that particular palm will be given the position. So right from the beginning we can see this democracy method. The evolution towards a democracy is represented by the following values, which are freedom, equality, fraternity, accountability, transparency and trust. These are the core values. Now let's look into the forms of democratic government. There are two forms of democratic government. One is the parliamentary form of government, the other one is the presidential form of government. Example for the parliamentary form of government is India, England. An example for the presidential form of government is, we all know, USA, France, etc. Okay, under parliamentary form of government, we do have three bodies which are electorate, legislature and executive. And under presidential form of government, we do have electorate. Under electorate, the two bodies which come are executive and legislature. So you have learned about these different bodies in your previous classes itself. Now, types of democracy. As I've told you, there are two types of democracy. One is the direct democracy and the other one is indirect democracy. What do you mean by direct democracy? Direct democracy is nothing but where people themselves directly express their will on public affairs, and this type of government is called pure or direct democracy. Example: ancient Greek city-states, Switzerland. And then the indirect democracy, which is also called as representative democracies. So in this type of democracy, the people express their will on public affairs through their elected representatives, and this type of government is called indirect or representative democracy. So for today we have learned about the different forms of government which are followed in different countries, forms of democratic government, and types of democracy we have learned. See you all again in the next class, children. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you, children.